welcome to the Wellness Watch podcast. I'm Dr. Lauren Carroll. I'm a internal medicine pediatric physician, and I'm so happy to have you on right now. So we're going to be talking about how we can walk in health, full health, total health, body, mind, and spirit. And that was just how God would have us to walk in health. And, for this podcast, we stand on the scripture, 3 John 2:2. Beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prosper. Because that's what really God wants you to do, is to prosper and be in health. And that includes wellness. Well, today, we're going to be talking about sleep. Now, I know some of y'all are like, it seems like sleep is almost something that we put on the back burner. We're busy people. We have busy lives. We're leaders. And sometimes we want to sacrifice things, but sleep should not be one of those things that we sacrifice. And I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to be preaching to myself. We have Dr. Chris Allen on the show right now. He's amazing, one of my friends, but he's also a phenomenal physician. And I'm just going to go ahead and just read his bio real quick as we bring him on. So, Dr. Chris Allen. Hold on one second. So Dr. Christopher J. Allen, let me get it right, is a board-certified sleep medicine specialist for both children and adult and pediatric neurology. He received his training at the University of Michigan. I'm not going to say go blue because I'm go green, but we love him anyway. University of Chicago, Chi-Town. And he currently serves as the CEO and lead physician of Quality Sleep and Neurology PC in Saginaw, Michigan. As a proud alumnus of Howard University and a board-certified pediatric neurologist, he has a deep love for neurology, but sleep is truly his passion. And his mission is to ensure everyone has quality sleep or access to quality sleep. And in a world where sleep is often the first thing sacrificed, like I just said, he strives to be a guide and advocate, ensuring people prioritize and value their rest. Oh, that's a word right now. You need to value your rest. So we could even call him, he calls himself the sleep superhero, and he is on a mission in Michigan. So outside of medicine, he said he's a Raiders fan. He does karaoke, and he can dance. Okay. Now his daughter, she can dance too. Like she's with Debbie Allen and all that kind of stuff at a young age, but he could throw down too. I don't know, Chris, I feel like you would have been a dancer if you didn't become a doctor. Anyway, here is Chris Allen. Dr. Allen, can you just go ahead and just introduce yourself to the Wellness Watch podcast team?
Well, first of all, hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Lauren. I'm just happy to be here. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm proud of your mission. I was just happy to see your story and just to be a part of this and on your show. I'm really happy. And this, who could have imagined, both of us, med school, just going through and just getting here. So I'm really excited. And honestly, I want to say, hi to your listeners. Thank you for listening. And we're here.
Okay, wonderful. And I didn't really say that. So me and Dr. Allen go way back to medical school in Detroit, back to, what was it? Sky Hall? Was it Sky Hall? No.
Yep, Sky Hall.
Sky Hall. All right. We slaving away. And one thing we were talking about even before this show came on was about sleep and the lack that we got in medical school, and how it seemed like, I was just even saying, it seemed like you were like a punk if you weren't able to push through those midnight hours and study. And we needed that time. But after a while, studying like that I feel like we retained information, but I felt like I was tired for like 4 years. Tired. And then
and the funny part about that, because and I always tell people this, well, I tell them two things. One, sleep is important, because anyone that does anything, the first thing people usually sacrifice is sleep. And that's hard because, people feel like, okay, I got to grind hard. Mm-hmm. There's even videos out there saying that the less you sleep, the more, work you can get. And honestly, they show you studies that if you get your quality sleep, get the recommended amount of sleep, your performance is even better. And that's not even getting into the health part, which I will, but your performance is even better. And, if I had hindsight, I would have used that, during the times we were in med school or during the times where we were in residency. And it was even hard because during the times in our residency, we literally are staying up
Yep.
more than 24 hours and then like working and literally trying to save lives. But, can it be better now? Definitely. But they're trying to make moves to help and address that too. So as I said, it definitely is important.
Yeah, it's so funny because we came up millennials, so we're like, what do they call us, golden retrievers? So the generation, we take everything, we keep on smiling, but these Gen Zs, they're like, nah, we want our stuff. This ain't right.
Nope.
We somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. I'm so glad you said that because even going back, we always take it back to the spiritual of this show. And even going back to Psalm chapter 127, verse 2, it says, it is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. So sleep is a gift, and sometimes we don't appreciate the gift of sleep. And even like on the medical side, God already knew everything that we needed, and he knew that we needed sleep because it was so important. But there's so many like benefits to sleep, and there's so many like detrimental things that will come if you don't get enough sleep. Like I was doing some research, I know you sleep medicine, but I was like, I gotta show, I read up on some things before this. But according to the National Institutes of Health, an estimated 50 to 70 million Americans have chronic or ongoing sleep disorders.
Yes, definitely.
And it says that sleep deficiency is linked to chronic health problems like heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, obesity, and even depression. And here's the statistics that I didn't even know, which is crazy. It says poor sleep is associated with lower life expectancy.
Yeah, definitely.
They did like a three large like cross-sectional studies that showed that sleeping less than 5 hours per night increases mortality risk from all causes by roughly 15%.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you are not getting sleep, you are actually lowering your life expectancy. That's crazy. Woo.
Yeah. And so it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Sleep is essential. And the thing is that, people always ask me, it's like, what, Dr. Allen, like, how much sleep do I need? And it depends on your age. Now, for most of your adult life, you need anywhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That's what you need. And the thing is, there are some people that are short sleepers, a very small percentage that might get a little under 7 hours. That could be okay. Not subjectively be okay. Like, I can be okay. Not talking about that. But most of the people need anywhere from 7 to 9. And I always tell people, like, give yourself grace, knowing where you need to be, then asking a question like, well, what do I need to do to get to that point? And that's the most important part about it. One, addressing it, and then getting the help to try to get to there. And there's simple things that you can do at home to see if that helps. And if that doesn't help, that's when you're talking to your provider. That's when you get into a sleep professional to help along with that.
Oh, I love that. And I think like this show, I created the podcast, one, to help other people, but to help myself as well. Because I know for me as a leader, I need a strategy to do things. And like when I'm trying to develop that strategy, I always consult books or consult people who are very knowledgeable about the things that I'm trying to do or trying to get into. And that's why I have you on the show. So maybe selfish reasons.
Hey, but you know what? Those reasons, trust me, everyone needs it. Helpful. And honestly, sometimes when I'm talking to the patient, I'm talking to myself as well.
There you go.
It's a good reminder. And like, I know like the depths of like why you need to get quality sleep. Getting sleep and making sure you're getting good sleep, it affects everything. It affects every concentration of medicine. As you mentioned, lack of sleep can lead to high blood pressure. It can lead to diabetes, stroke. It can affect your mood. It affects erectile dysfunction. A lot of things out there. And the thing is that, as I said at the beginning, many people sacrifice that. And it's the hard part about that because, you run out of time in the day. In the world that we live in the society, there are so many devices and things that want to keep us up. We want to like delve into that to like relax and unwind, but then it's cutting away from our recharge. And there's nothing like it. And the thing is, I always tell people this: Mr. Sandman wants his money. How do you pay him? And by sleeping. They literally call it sleep debt.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because don't nobody like that. Okay, don't nobody get that. And the only way that you get this debt back is by going to sleep. Go to bed.
I always tell patients that because one patient will tell me, it's like, look, doc, I'll just catch up on the weekend. I'm like, okay. So say if you got 7 hours of sleep that you need 5. So by Friday, you already shortchanged man about 10 hours. So that means on the weekend, not only we have to sleep that 7 hours, you have to sleep an extra 10. And nobody's sleeping for 17 hours.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad that you said that because I want to talk about that. Well, first I want to go back to the basics, but we're going to talk about sleep debt and sleep hygiene. Oh, that's such a, sleep debt. That's going to preach. Okay, I'm going to write that down because I'm probably going to use that later.
One thing I admire is that, like, on your podcast, how you get the word in there. And I always, and I tell people, especially if I know they're believers that are my patients, I'm like, 2 things. I like, look, what did God do on the 7th day?
Absolutely.
Rest. Are you better than God?
Nope.
Mainly not. And then the second thing is that, people talk to me and like, and they want to get healed. It's like, I prayed on it and I'm like, good. And I got faith with you. But remember, it's not just faith.
Yep.
It's faith and works.
It works.
That's what the work's in there, especially my preachers, when they come see me and they're like, all right, okay.
That is so real. We're going to talk about some other stuff, but I always feel like people are like, when they pray, let me just throw my prayer up there. God's got it. No, God wants you to put your action toward your faith and your belief. Faith without works is dead. And in this, especially with your health, you have to be intentional about your health. God is a God that heals. He is. There's things you have to do for your body to protect this vessel that he's given us. So you can't say like, okay, Lord, I want you to do all this. I want you to, for my body, but you do stuff in your face and not getting sleep, not getting rest, full of anxiety. Okay, that's a different show.
I know. Look,
that's real.
Seed. It might be a mustard seed, but you got to water it. You got to. God will help you grow, but you gotta till. You gotta make sure you put it on good ground.
Absolutely. So we were talking about quality sleep. So what is your definition of quality sleep? Because I always say, because sometimes you can get sleep, but there's so many people who get sleep, but they wake up tired, they wake up distracted, they don't feel well rested. So as a sleep specialist, what is your definition of quality sleep?
So with me, quality sleep is when you're going to bed and you're getting the right quantity of sleep. But frankly, you're going to bed with the recommended amount of time. You're waking up and you're feeling refreshed. You're feeling alert. And the thing is that sometimes you feel that you're getting that. The best way to say if you are actually getting quality sleep is talking to your bed partner. And even if you don't have a bed partner, somebody has seen you doze off to see like how you're sleeping, or at least heard to see how things are. Because the hardest part about my job, I have to talk to people about things that happen to them when they're unconscious. So I have to be real savvy just to get a feel of how they're sleeping. And, and we're in a world where you have like a lot of wearable devices that tells you how long you're sleeping, if you're moving around, if your oxygen is even going down. So we're getting to a world where we are getting more information about our sleep. But what are we going to do about that? And I think that's the biggest thing leading to quality sleep. Understanding that, like, I want to go to bed, I want to sleep, wake up feeling refreshed from the day. And the most important part of it, Rome wasn't built in a day. Because when I tell people this, sometimes they get discouraged. Like, oh, I don't know how to do that, or I'm doing this job and I'm working. It's the pursuit. It's getting there. And eventually you can, and you look back to see where you were. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed to have that with my patients. I can tell them where they are. For example, I have patients that have insomnia, and like, how long has this been going on? Oh, this has been going on for 25 years. I'm like, well, I'm here today to tell you that's not going to take 25 years to fix.
Yes.
So we're 3 months down, and they might not be where they want to be, but they're better than they were before. And so it's that pursuit, getting to that quality sleep from that. And that's something I'm a firm believer of.
That's awesome. I can't imagine having insomnia for 25 years and it being like a normal thing,
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. That's the hard part about insomnia. Like it's like there's like three P's of insomnia, and the biggest P is precipitation. Because
Mm,
first you do things, you might stay up, late or not getting good sleep, and then your body's like fine. Then it gets to
mm,
another part where something in your life happens, and like now you're not sleeping about, and then the point where you want to get it changed, it's still precipitating. So it takes more groundwork to get through that. And I'm not just talking about medication. And that's the thing.
mm.
So medication, and as providers, we do our best to like give treatment to our patients when they need it. I always tell patients, I'm not going to put you on medication unless I have to.
Yeah. I love that because I know even when I was doing clinical medicine, everyone expected to get a pill for sleep. And
Oh
then
yeah.
they get mad at me when I talk about sleep hygiene. Are you all scrolling on Instagram before you go to bed? Turn the television off. Did you have some coffee or drinking some pop before you go to bed? I mean, there's things that you can do to help your sleep out rather than just running to a pill. And we're not trying to, don't get me wrong, not trying to condemn anyone who is on a pill or anything like
No.
that for sleeping. We're just saying that should not be your go-to to run to, have some
My thing
form of
is,
pill that you have to take.
my thing is, even with my medication, there is a time and place, for everything.
Right.
And even with the medications and hypnotics and medications that can help you fall asleep, my thing is I get to the root problem. And I have patients, I have tons of patients that are on medication,
Mhm.
even for insomnia. But here's the thing I always tell them, there's always a beginning, middle, and end to that treatment. Because even with insomnia, if you look, and this is me, put my nerd cap hat on,
Mm.
American Academy of Sleep Medicine and the International Classification of Sleep Disorders, when you treat them, the goal is to treat them for about 3 months, maybe
Mm.
6. And people have been on medications for like years. And
Forever.
so the thing is, and it's the hard part because I tell them that, and they're like, "Well, I've been on this for 10 years," and I'm like, "And yet you're seeing me today."
Mm.
So the thing
Yeah.
is that medication has its place, but it has to be used in the right way. And sometimes the hardest part with my patient, because once I get them to that quality sleep and it's good, I'm like, "All right, we've been like this for 3 months. Now it's time to come off this medication." They're like, "Hold up.
Yeah.
Like, you
Hold on,
told
guys.
me your job to make sure I get quality sleep. I'm getting quality sleep. Why are you trying to stop it?" I'm just letting you know we put it in that place and let's come down slow. I literally a couple of days saw a patient. We had that conversation. I'm like, "Look, we'll be in this for 8 more weeks, but just know
Mhm.
we're gonna have that conversation." So just to get them up. And they were scared because, that just shows you how sacred sleep is. Because once you get it and get to that promised land of getting quality sleep, they're like, "Okay, I don't want anything to mess this up."
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think that's great that you are actually coaching your patients to another level of wellness. And even you can see it for them, but they're even having a hard time believing it themselves. So,
Yeah.
and, it helps to have someone that's there right with you. I'm walking this out with you. It's not like I'm going to leave you hanging out here, and I think a lot of the physicians, like, you, myself, and even your wife and other people I've had in the show, we really care about people. We're not just like out here trying to make money. We make money, but we're not trying to out there. That's not the goal. The goal for us is not, we didn't go to school to be pill poppers or pill pushers, both.
Yes.
But we actually want to help you develop wellness, especially in this area of sleep. So, talking about your patients, what are some of the most common myths that you see just surrounding sleep with just the people that you talk to?
Um, well, one of the things is there's many, and one at the
Mm,
top that I'll talk about is that snoring. Snoring is not normal.
mm, mm.
Now, it
Wow.
doesn't mean that something is happening or you
Mhm.
have a sleep disorder, but it's not normal. And I'm going to have you step into Dr. Allen's office because when I talk,
Snoring. You said, wait, you said snoring is not normal. Wow. Snoring is not. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
because in my office, I always talk to them, and this is one of the most common things that I see in my practice, which is obstructive sleep apnea. And I always tell them the story. And so you're like in my office right now.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
that, when you fall asleep, all the muscles in your body relax, your legs, your arms, even the muscles in the back of your throat. So if this is your mouth and this is the back of your throat, when you're awake, airway's open, air's going in and out. But when you fall asleep, muscles relax and right in the back gets small. So when you're sleeping and you're breathing in, this is the sound people hear. That's how snoring happens. And so that is something that's not normal, because in obstructive sleep apnea, what happens, it relaxes even more. Then
Mm.
all of a sudden, airway
Mm.
closes. So no oxygen is going to your heart, lung, or brain, but they don't know what's happening back there. Heart's working harder, lungs are breathing in
Yep.
deeper, your brain sending stress signals, and all of a sudden, you wake up.
Yep.
Well, not you, your body. Sometimes you, but you fall back to sleep and it happens over and over and over again. That's obstructive sleep apnea. And so that's why I talk about snoring, because snoring is not normal. Now, everyone that does snore doesn't mean that they have a sleep disorder like obstructive sleep apnea, but snoring starts the conversation. So anyone that's a provider that's out there or listening to this and like, wow, I know someone like that, talk to them. And as providers, I tell them to say, like, ask, well, when you wake up, do you feel like you're well rested? And they're like, no. So look, you're already snoring and now you're not feeling well rested. Then the next question, if they have a bed partner, ask them. I was like, well, how does your bed partner say that you sleep? Oh, they sleep in the other room. Why? They got tired of me snoring. They even said I wasn't breathing when I was sleeping, little things like that. And that like moves to the first part. So that's one of the big myths, snoring is that like that people, and we grew up on cartoons. Like when you're watching a cartoon, little Z's, it's like, oh, look at them sleep, nice and sleep.
Right.
No, we got that in our brain. I was like, no, you're just sleeping hard, man. You were sleeping hard last night because you were snoring.
Yeah.
Snoring is not normal. So that's one of the biggest myths. Another one is about, how much sleep you need. And the thing is that, everyone growing up, for some reason, we remember 8 hours, and they
Right.
and there's a range anywhere from 7 to 9. So people can get a little more than 8, people can get a little less than 8. But I say a little less, just about an hour less. And that's,
Right.
and, and we talked about one of the myths earlier where people like, I can just catch up on the weekend. Oh, and another myth, and it's about sleep, but more of a sleep disorder, like, obstructive sleep apnea. There's many ways to treat it. And when people know about sleep apnea, they think, oh, no, CPAP. I got to wear a CPAP. Or someone comes up to me and like, I don't want to wear that C crap. And I'm like, calm down. So there's many ways to treat sleep disorders. And if we're talking about another myth, when you get a home sleep study and it comes back negative, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't have a sleep disorder.
That's right.
And I always tell people, like, if you see someone about your sleep and you're still feeling tired and you feel like they just did like the workup, be an advocate for yourself. That's going to be the biggest part for it.
Yeah. I love everything that you said, especially regarding just the dangers of sleep apnea. And I think people don't realize like your body is constantly underneath stress, right? Yeah. And then we get back to physiology. That means cortisol, your stress hormone is getting up. It gets you harder to lose weight. It worsens hypertension. It worsens every other cardiovascular thing you can have, diabetes. So your sleep quality and dealing with or really getting a appropriate treatment for sleep apnea is so important, especially if you had any other medical condition as well. And I hear it all the time. Them CPAPs, people be hating those. I'm like, no, I feel like I'm choking. Some people, if they can get over the mask, they love it. But my thing is like, it's your health, okay?
I mean, it is your health, but you need the right support. Yes. And that's why, like, even at my practice at Quality Sleep and Neurology, we make sure that happens. Because the thing is that it's hard, and especially if you start therapy, insurance gives you 90 days, and which makes me really upset because if they're not getting used to the treatment, they will take that treatment away. Ooh. And I feel like in sleep apnea, it's like the only disorder where they will actually take a treatment away from you that can hurt your body. And like you said, you're not getting that quality sleep. I have tons of patients that say, oh, I just sleep fine. But then if you talk to their bed partner or their parent or their roommate that's in the other room, they say otherwise. And that's the hardest part about my job. I talk to stuff about them when they're unconscious. But like you said, that constant chaos that's going over overnight, you're not getting oxygen, stress signals are being increased, that mess with high blood pressure, that messes with like leading to stroke. I call it it's the slow killer. It is. It sounds very like serious, but it is, and it happens over time. Now, people that are listening, if this is happening, you're like, oh no, don't, you can still sleep tonight. It takes over, time, but today is the day that you listen and figure out what you can do to get that, quality sleep for that.
Okay.
And
Yeah. No, I was going to say, don't, like my dad used to say, don't be hard headed. We give you the good information.
oh, hey, the thing is, but you got to meet people where they're at. And that's the thing
Right.
about this, because I've seen all walks of life when I'm treating patients. And I've had some patients it's like, all right, I hear what you're saying. All right. I see them 2 years later. I'm like, welcome back. And the thing is, even with CPAP therapy, there's over 200 different types of masks. And so people find out like, oh man, well, I tried every mask. I'm like, look, I'm a sleep doctor. I haven't seen every mask yet. So I know that you haven't tried every mask. Now, they may have tried 5. I'm like, how many did you try?
Yeah.
10? I'm like, all right, you're about 5% in. So well, there's many ways to treat it. And CPAP is not the only way to treat obstructive sleep apnea, and always depending on your severity. And that's something that like a lot of people don't know. And I'm very fortunate to have tools to treat my other patients. Not all my patients are on CPAP therapy, and we have other ways to treat it too.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so we're going to get to that. But first off, I want us to talk about, because I want to give people kind of like a plan of action they want to start today. So what are some things that you can do? Well, let's talk about just base level. What is good sleep hygiene? And we use that word just like people are very familiar about like dental hygiene and things that you can do to maintain healthy teeth. There is sleep hygiene that you can do. Does not require any medication or anything at all. Just activities that you can do to help you get a better night's sleep. And can you go into some of those elements of good sleep hygiene?
Oh, excuse me. Most definitely. Here's the thing. I always tell patients, like, look, if you even start that small, or even friends and colleagues, that can make a big difference. And the thing is that when you're going to bed, making sure that you have a good environment, making sure the room is cool, making sure it's dark, as much as you can, get rid of the noises. And then I say this to all of my patients. I also say it on social media, other shameless plug, Sleep Dr. Chris, look me up. I always tell them that the bedroom is only for 3 things. And they all start with the letter S. So if you're sick, if you're sleeping, we know what that third S is for. Okay? So if none of those 3 things are happening, you are not in bed. So mind you, I didn't say looking at your phone. I didn't even say reading your book. I didn't even say like watching TV. And those are the things that can help with good hygiene. Now, to be fair, people might be looking at their phones or watching TV. And if you don't have any sleep problems, that's fine. But if you're starting to notice that, wow, I'm waking up and I'm not getting the sleep that I think I need, start there. Because if you're still starting there and you're still having problems, then that's where we can help. And the thing is that if it takes you more than 20 minutes to fall asleep, get out of bed. And that's just training your brain that like, look, this bed is only for 3 things. That ain't happening. You are not in bed.
That's so good because it helps to develop a habit. Like I haven't slept with the television in my room for like the last 25 years, honestly, just because I try to designate certain areas in my house for certain things. Like this is the rest and relaxation room. This is, for bed. I'm going to sleep. I do be reading in the bed, but guess what? I don't sleep problem. Like I can go. The thing is, I'll stay up and do stuff. That's why I don't go to sleep. But when my head hits the pillow, maybe 10 minutes, if that, I'm out. But the thing is, it's like if you're training your body and like even psychologically, like when I'm in this room, this is what's happening. I'm going to sleep. And I know people have said that some people use like music or sounds, or they say they need something to go to sleep. But, sometimes I want to challenge that, is maybe there's something else you need to do. Like, and we're getting to areas of like anxiety and things like people have racing thoughts and things. I always tell people to go ahead and try to journal everything that's on their mind, dump it out, and then go to sleep. Try to go to sleep that way. But if you're realizing that it's hard for you to pull away from some of these things, like scrolling scrolling, because people are addicted to their phones and they don't know it. First you got to realize if you have a problem, just kind of looking at the cell phone or social media before you go to bed, and it's almost like when you look up and it's 2 hours later, it might be good to put that cell phone outside of your room so you can actually go to sleep.
Yeah, and cell phones are really great now where you can give yourself that timer.
Yep.
Where one, it'll remind you, hey, like let's put this down, or you can stop your notifications from happening. And then also, if small, I got this from my wife. And she's not the first one to say it, but she says it a lot. So small changes can make big effects. And so with that being said, even if you move your charger from your phone, not in arm's reach, because if it's not in arm's reach, you can't do that and your notifications are down. And there's notifications that will let calls come through if it's an emergency, because everyone's like, well, what if it's an emergency?
Yeah.
There's a setting for that. Give me your phone. Let's get it together now. Well, there's ways to do that. And the thing is that, that's the big part with sleep hygiene, making sure that you have that good area where you can go to sleep and set up the environment for it. And the other part of sleep hygiene, one of the most important things, because people will say, and this gets into like some of the sleep disorders like insomnia, or if they're having problems like, staying asleep or going to sleep, the most important part is not really the bedtime. It's the wake time. So if you have a consistent wake time, that's going to help you. Even if you can't go to sleep and you're like, oh, I only fell asleep at 3, but you still woke up at 7. If you continue to wake up at 7 o'clock, your body's circadian rhythm is going to go to that. And when I say circadian rhythm, there's 2 processes that help you fall asleep, or that dictate your sleep. One of them is the process C, which is the circadian rhythm, where it depends on nerve cap alert, where you have melatonin literally in your brain telling you, hey, it's time to go to bed. It doesn't knock you out, and there's melatonin people can take, which is another conversation in itself. Right. But that's one process that's dependent on the sun and your internal clock. And then the other one is the process S, where it's like that sleep drive, the drive for you to go to sleep, because the longer you stay up, you get tired. And there's these factors in your body that just build up, and up that makes you more tired. And like, look, I got to go to sleep, and flushes out. And so, yeah. And the funny thing is that, again, nerd cap alert, where that process is building up like this thing that's called adenosine in your body. And there's this beverage that can block those receptors, and with the adenosine, and that beverage is caffeine. So when people have coffee, it's blocking that. That's how people can stay up longer, or if they're still tired, can do that. But guess what? That adenosine is still there. And then sometimes that's how people can get into that crash or still feel fatigued.
Yeah, firsthand, like I love coffee, but I don't drink coffee to stay up. But anytime I have like maybe a double espresso, I need, and this is back in the days, and maybe when I had to like stay up a little bit, but I hated it because my body felt physically, I was tired, but I could not go to sleep. And like, I know it's like, this is not good. So I rarely do those double espressos or anything like that anymore. But I think it's just like your body really wants you to go to sleep, and your body is actually wants you to be well in this way. And so when you're fighting sleep, you're fighting against your body's natural processes. And, we talked about the negatives of not getting enough sleep. But there's so many positives when you actually have good sleep. You're more alert. You're not as irritable. If you feel like you always got an attitude and stuff, well, sleep might be part of it. But you might have to do some more soul work. But it helps to have a good night's sleep when you're trying to tackle things throughout the day, especially if you're working with other people. And it just helps your overall mood and concentration, right?
Oh, definitely. And the thing is that I have tons of patients, and it's funny stories. And I always love sharing stories with my patients.
Yeah, go ahead. We love some stories. Go ahead.
Yeah, and they give me permission to have this. I've had a couple of guys that are like, I'm thank you that you've helped me with my sleeping. It's a lot better. My wife says that I'm better to be around. I'm not as moody. Or sometimes I'll have the spouse in there, and they make it a point to come back to say, like, I don't know what you did. He's sleeping a lot better. And I love sharing this story. And this goes back to like a sleep disorder about obstructive sleep apnea of what we talked about. there was this patient that I saw, and it was her spouse. I mean, it was his spouse. I'm sorry, it was the wife. I had him as a patient, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen him. That's good. And I was seeing her and evaluating her and then at the end of the appointment, she's like, excuse me. And I was like, yeah. I was like, such and such, he's a patient of yours. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to thank you, and I'm just going to be honest with you. He was dealing with like erectile dysfunction, and ever since he's been treated, he's had a sustainable erection. And I'm like, look at that.
I knew I was going to come back to that too. I'm like, so ladies,
yeah, and the thing is,
it might be a sleep problem.
Yeah, it might be a sleep problem. And even with women and their libido, it comes in the lack of sleep. And that lack of sleep might be coming from their bed partner that is snoring and keeping them up. So yeah, it goes hand in hand. And even if a woman has a sleep disorder, that plays a role as well.
I think, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because maybe people don't realize or didn't realize how much sleep affects every part of your life. And I love something that you said before. I think you said it's an everyday thing, but really it's consistency. And I think with any way that you're trying to change your body, whether you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to get your blood pressure down, exercise, you have got to have consistency in what you're doing. And it takes a little bit every day. And I always say it's like you got to take it one day at a time. But, give yourself props, celebrate yourself, celebrate you for the small victories. Like if you put your charger in your phone charger somewhere else in the room, do that. Celebrate that. You went to bed on time. Celebrate that. You woke up on time. Celebrate that.
It takes those small steps. And it's funny because I have patients that have sleep apnea. And with sleep apnea, it has an app and it gives you a grade of how you sleep. And so those competitive types, and like I might have two patients that are spouses. It's like, what did you get? I got an 89. It's like, I got a 92. I'm like, so it helps them. They know how we are as a society. And the thing is
the peer pressure.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is that there's a lot of things. And I have so many stories of people that are getting quality sleep that are not on blood pressure medication anymore, or quality sleep, and that helps you facilitate weight loss. Getting your sleep together, treating disorders like sleep apnea, like getting that helps facilitate weight loss. Now, it doesn't have weight loss by itself. You still have to do the things to help, but it helps facilitate it because your body's not in stress. And when it is, it's holding on to calories because your body is trained. If I'm stressed, I need to survive. So it's trying to do stuff to survive. So you got to help yourself, help me, help you to sleep better.
Okay, awesome. I love this. So we're going to actually, because we're almost finished with our time, but I did want to go into, if someone thinks that they do have a sleep disorder, can you kind of walk through, like if they were coming to see you, hopefully if you're in Michigan, if you're in Saginaw, if you're Detroit area, I don't care if you're in Michigan, you can drive down and go to their office. But if you were having...
we can get you treated.
Right. So if you had someone coming in and thinking that they had any kind of sleep disorder, of course, you would go through some of the evaluation questions that you asked. But what would be the first step, like procedure wise? I know we've been throwing out the word sleep study, but can you kind of go into that?
Oh, most definitely. And the thing is, when they come to my office, I always joke with them because I'll ask why you're here. It's like, well, my doctor thinks I have sleep apnea. I'm like, okay, that's good. And we'll get to that. And I always tell them, I'm not a sleep apnea doctor. I'm a sleep doctor. So I'm hitting everything. And so when I give them an evaluation, I make sure it's comprehensive. I think of every disorder known to sleep, and I scratch them off the top of my list when I evaluate them. And then when it gets to a point, because there are some things within the history, within their examination that might be concerning for a sleep disorder. So for example, if I'm concerned for obstructive sleep apnea, what we're going to do is get them a sleep study. And there's many ways to do a sleep study with that. Basically, you can go to a sleep lab where you literally sleep in a bed and they connect sensors on you to see how you're breathing, your oxygen, and how your legs are moving. And when that happens, they have a camera on you just to see if you're doing any weird type of movements as well, because and they call that a polysomnogram. So those are ways that you look in there and see how you're sleeping. And I can see if you're pausing and breathing, I can see where your oxygen is decreasing, or if your legs are moving, or you're moving in partial sleep where you're not supposed to be moving. And so that's the gold standard for getting those tests. There are other studies that can help as well. There's a home sleep apnea test where you just do it from the comforts of your own home. It's less equipment that's on, but what it's practically doing, it can do it in two ways. It's still monitoring how you're breathing, monitoring your oxygen to see if it's dipping down, and monitoring your flow of air to see if it's decreasing or there's no breathing at all, which is that's the apnea part of it. And the thing is that there's even ones where it looks at your arterial flow, and you can see, and it correlates with seeing if you have any obstruction. So there's many ways that you can see that. Now, with that being said, those are really good tests. So for example, the home sleep apnea test that you can do, they're cheaper. So insurance love for you to go for that one, but they're very predictable if you have it. So if you do have it, there's a positive predictive value of 97%, meaning it's a 97% chance that they're right that you have sleep apnea. But if it comes back negative, I always call it inconclusive because that test only shows 70, maybe up to 80% if you do have it. And so if you really want to rule it in and rule it out, if you have obstructive sleep apnea from those studies, that's great. Then after that, if it still came back, they would probably put you into a sleep lab and do that polysomnogram that you've heard about. And that's when going to the sleep lab or a sleep study where people hear that. And so you can fully rule it in and rule it out and answer other questions because it might not be sleep apnea. It might be moving your legs a lot that's disrupting your sleep or giving you arousals waking up in the middle of the night. But say after all of that, okay, it shows that, and it shows that you have a sleep disorder, then you get it treated and you're going to stop back into Dr. Allen's office again. So the most common treatment that everyone knows about is CPAP therapy, which stands for continuous positive airway pressure. That last word's the most important part, pressure. You wear a mask and it provides a pressure to keep your airway open. Doesn't matter if muscles are relaxed and air is going in and out.
Right.
Now, this is one thing that I didn't talk about, but I always tell this to my colleagues, my friends, and my patients. Makes it sound like a cheesy commercial, but not only my doctor. I have obstructive sleep apnea. I've been treated for the last 20 years. And so I definitely noticed a difference with it. I'll be honest, it took me 3 months to figure it out for myself. But because I went on a trip and I didn't take my CPAP with me and I felt horrible.
Oh, no.
And I'm really big on people getting treated because, like we said, if you don't release the high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, erectile dysfunction. But the good thing about this, if you have any of those disorders and get treated, that can get better or even in some cases resolve.
Yeah, I love that. So, I mean, I will say this, because I hear patients complain about the CPAP a lot, but those I know they have the CPAP and they use it, they can't get enough. They love it, because they notice that their quality of life has gone up so much just from that, using that, and probably, all the other sleep methods of, making sure they're keeping up with things. And let me throw in exercise in there too, because I know I always get a good night's sleep after I exercise. So,
Oh yeah, exercise. I mean, it is great. Making sure it's not right at bedtime, but it's a good reminder time before that. And with my patients, when I hear the 5 words, it warms my soul. It's I can't sleep without this. So when they're using CPAP and they notice the difference, you get it. And then the thing is that after they get it, you always make sure that you get that checkup. You go to the dentist, you make sure that checkup, even though you don't have a cavity. And you have to do the same thing.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you, Dr. Allen. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And really, you all out there, really take what we talked about to heart. Again, we know that God wants us to have total wellness, in our spirit and in our bodies. And a lot of the topics I have on the show, we concentrate on our bodies, because I really do feel there's a lot of believers out here. We have it together spiritually in some respects. We're still growing, but a lot of people ignore these body issues until they get to the extreme levels where they're at, having to take a lot of medications or can't really flow in what God wants them to do because their body is holding them back. And we know that is not the case. So God wants us to be consistent in our spiritual walk and also our physical walk as well. So Dr. Allen, please tell us about your practice. I know Dr. Defina, she talked about it the last time, but give us the information where you guys are located and any kind of social media tags or anything that you have.
Oh, most definitely. So my practice, I'm the CEO and lead physician of Quality Sleep and Neurology. You can look that up at qualitysleepandneurology.com. If you look that up, you'll see a picture of me. It'll be me. And then you can scroll. It has all the information there. We're located in Saginaw, Michigan. Also, we do virtual appointments. So if you're anywhere in Michigan, we'll get you taken care of. And also, not only my sleep doctor, I'm an influencer. So if you go to Instagram, you put in Sleep Dr. Chris, Sleep Dr. Chris, you'll find me on there. I'm also on Facebook there. You can also look on YouTube. There's some stuff on there as well. And for all those professionals, I'm also on LinkedIn. If you put in Christopher Allen or type in Sleep Dr. Chris, you'll see a lot of posts about that on there as well. As I said, sleep is my passion. You have any questions, I would love to answer it. And even on Instagram on Fridays, I do some Q&A. So just let me know. I'll answer it for you. And now,
awesome. Go ahead.
4 words for you. You know a guy.
No, okay. And I definitely recommend all of you all just to go check out Dr. Chris on Instagram. He's got some funny posts on there too. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of funny sleep neurologists, and they get it. I saw you guys got a whole company of folks. I'm like, okay, I like it. And then also, while you're checking him out on the internet, you can also go to drlaurencarroll.com. And I actually have a free devotional that really talks about getting your mindset ready to receive wellness. So all the information that we talked about today, some of you guys can't even receive it because you don't have a receiving heart. You haven't really challenged your mind to take any new steps to do the right thing to be well. So I made a free devotional. So just go to drlaurencarroll.com. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We want to thank Dr. Chris Allen for coming on. We're probably going to have you again in something future or some more shows because I know this is a topic that we can always just expound upon. So everyone else, go ahead and send out, please share this episode to someone that you know needs to go to bed and get some sleep. All right, guys, you have a wonderfully fruitful day and stay well.
Thank you.